Welcome back, everybody. Before we get to our next guest, just a quick programming note. Shortly, Utah's Governor Spencer Cox is going to be doing a live press conference, so we're going to dip into that. Utah, of course, being the state where Charlie Kirk was tragically killed just a few hours ago at Utah Valley University. So we're going to dip into that in a moment. But John, I think about all of the interactions that we had with Charlie as a brother at this network, and you oftentimes with him in places far and wide.
Yeah.
And just always such a genuine guy. And regardless of how busy he was, I mean, you think of if you've ever been to a Turning Point event, you know that it is a production. It is a production on the scale of a Beyonce concert, and all of the intricacies, all of the people who get involved on the production side, on the logistics side, on the governmental side, on the law enforcement side. I mean, it is just such an operation, but he never was too busy to talk to people.
No, I love the event he did a few months ago where he was on stage with his wife the whole time, where they were basically interviewing each other, and you saw the love they have and the faith that they have. And I just thought that he was something special. I would fight with him. I would mentor him. But I will tell you, the first time I saw him was in 2015. And I was working at Sinclair, and David Smith, the owner of CEO, said, "You're jumping on a corporate jet." Now, I'd never been on a corporate jet in my life, so I thought this was a pretty big deal. And we went down, and there was maybe 200 kids in this hotel ballroom, and Charlie stood up. I spoke for a little bit, but they stood up, and I'd never seen anyone like this. And then David said, he skipped college. He dropped out of college. I'm like, he don't need college. But you could just see somebody magical. And from the 200 or 300 kids in December of 2015, and I think it was West Palm Beach, to these last few events where you have thousands, tens of thousands a week that were being touched by him. What a success he was. And it's probably that success that made someone want to stop it, but they're going to have failed. They didn't. They may have succeeded at killing Charlie. They will not succeed at the greater goal. Somebody who succeeds a lot, particularly when he was in the FBI, is one of our next guests. We got a good one, don't we?
Yes, we do. And I loved having Gary on in the first block because he offered kind of that personal side of things. He's a witness to the charisma and the intellect of Charlie Kirk. So now let's talk about the law enforcement side of things, because there are a lot of us out there asking questions. As journalists here, we are obviously the first champing at the bit, trying to get answers to a lot of the questions, and who did this and how it happened and why wasn't Charlie protected. So joining us now to discuss all of that is retired FBI Executive Assistant Director Chris Piotta. Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Good evening, John, Amanda. And before we get started, I'd like to offer my deepest sympathies and condolences to Charlie Kirk's wife and children, family, and friends for this tragedy.
Thank you for that, Chris. Walk us through what's happening there on the ground in Utah. What's the process here? Who all is on the ground? Who is there from Washington? What does it look like right now?
What you have right now is a process of course, they look to identify and mitigate any immediate threats, any continuing threats, which I think was probably done earlier today. And now you have the process of investigative work where they're interviewing on-scene individuals, people who can provide audio and video footage, people who may have seen certain things, bits and parts that the investigators can put together. Also, what they're trying to do is make sure that the site is preserved for the post-shooting investigation, where you're going to have the state and local authorities, along with federal authorities, working together to identify what happened, how the shots were made, looking for forensic evidence, and they're also looking to reconstruct things like trajectory, ballistics, and things of that sort that led to the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. It's going to be a complex event, and when you don't catch a shooter right away, it gets a little trickier. And obviously, right now, at least as of an hour ago, there was no one in custody. From what you can see in video footage, it looks like this shooter was a pretty good marksman, aiming for the neck, if we're right. And from an elevated angle, it looks like those are the three things we've been told by law enforcement so far, which isn't a lot of detail, but where might that lead the early search? I assume buildings, rooftops, windows might be the place that the FBI is going to look quickly for, right?
That's correct. They'll bring in the FBI Laboratory Division to support our state and local partners, and they'll start looking at, again, trajectory, and they'll look at the way the video shot was taken, and they'll recreate what happened. And there's some footage that I just saw a few minutes ago where someone saw a shooter or someone on a rooftop.
Yeah.
And what they're going to do is they're going to look at how that could have happened, and then they're going to look at the security perimeter, and this individual may have been outside the security perimeter.
That's right.
When you mentioned the shot that was taken, the neck or the throat area is not a general target area. Usually you'll have the head or the chest. So this individual may have taken the shot and miscalculated for certain shooting characteristics and hit him in the throat instead, but it was still a lethal shot.
Yeah. Good observation.
Chris, so often in these high-profile murders or assassinations, you have ballistic tests that are performed, and that oftentimes gives us a lot of information. I mean, we obviously all know from the Kennedy assassination a lot of conversations surrounding what we learned from those ballistic tests. What can we glean once they figure out what was used? Can they figure out the source of the weapon? Can they figure out if it was foreign or domestic?
I think what you'll find is after they recover any bullet fragments from Charlie Kirk, and they do an analysis, they'll see what the caliber of the bullet was, whether it was a 5.56 round or maybe a 308 round or whatever, and then they'll look and see basically what the weapons platform could have been based upon certain characteristics, and they'll use that in the investigative effort to then try and trace backwards, look for any specific or unique identifying information that could lead them to some suspects that they can, conduct investigation and move forward to try and find the shooter.
Yeah. We have so many enemies of this country. Some are inside, some are outside. Do you look at foreign? Do you look at domestic? There's always chatter out in the intelligence world. What's your when you're at the FBI? There's a sit room probably set up, or someone's working the intelligence angle too. Do you consider on the eve of 9/11 that this is foreign, or do you mostly look at domestic, or do you just keep your mind open to all possibilities?
In the world that we live in right now, you have to keep your mind open to all possibilities, depending on the symbology of the 9/11 anniversary versus the awful and divisive political and ideological environment we have in our country right now. You don't want to rule out any investigative avenues or investigative areas of motive, but the FBI and its partners will look in all areas, and they will leave no stone unturned.
Yeah. No doubt about that. No.
Chris, we all know that Charlie was a proponent of freedom, and he therefore was a big supporter of President Trump. So you connect those dots. Is there a good reason for President Trump to have some extra security over the next few days?
I would say anyone of prominence in the conservative media world or political world should probably take a little bit of extra time and look at their surroundings and where they're going and some of the activities that they're involved with. The problem you have here is that in an act of violence such as this, if you can get I guess you can call them your adversary or your opponent, to step down, step back, to be afraid, to move away from their message and their mission, then you've won. Right, and that's why they do these types of things, the people who move to violence. And one thing I will say is that what I'd like to see is a very affirmative, aggressive movement from our law enforcement community to put this type of ideological or terroristic violence down hard. Violence can't be tolerated like this, and there has to be a
Chris,
very
we want to stop you for a second.
Harsh.
We have some news from the director of the FBI, Kash Patel. The subject of the shooting, the person believed to have been the shooter, has been taken into custody. This is about 2 minutes ago. Thank you to the local and state authorities in Utah for your partnership with @FBI. We'll provide updates when able. We just got that word from Kash Patel. That's a pretty quick turn on someone who probably left the scene, right?
I would imagine that person left the scene quickly, but again, with the FBI's vast resources, they can bring in audio visual recognition, and they can bring in their vast investigative authorities and their skill and professionalism with our state and local partners, and make sure that we can make that arrest like they did just now. Congratulations to the FBI and its partners on the arrest.
All right, Chris, we're going to go to the press conference. Thank you for joining us. The governor's just taken the stand. We're going to get you back on tomorrow. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we're going live to Governor Cox.
We'll be co-leading this criminal investigation to find this killer, along with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're working in unison with the County Sheriff's Office, the local police department, and the University Police Department, all of which have been very cooperative and fully engaged in this process. Shortly after the shooting, we did have a suspect in custody, George Zinn, but he was released from custody after we identified that he did not match the shooting suspect and was not an accurate person of interest. However, he has been booked into the county jail by Utah Valley University Police Department for obstruction of justice. We do still have an active investigation for the person of interest. This incident occurred with a large crowd around. There was one shot fired and one victim. While the suspect is at large, we believe this was a targeted attack towards one individual. This is a tragic moment in our state and in our country. As we heal, we encourage everyone who is struggling with news of the incident to call 988, our state mental health crisis line. In addition to that, our partners with the FBI will also be discussing other ways we can communicate through the public for tips and other information. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the FBI, we extend our sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Charlie Kirk. Our thoughts are also with the people who witnessed this traumatic event. We know that what you experienced was very difficult. Our thoughts are with you as well. As soon as we heard about the shooting, special agents and personnel from the Salt Lake field office responded immediately. We have full resources devoted to this investigation, including tactical, operational, investigative, and intelligence. To be clear, the FBI will fully support and co-lead this investigation alongside with our partners. We are working on setting up a digital media tip line, and as soon as it's established, we'll get that information out to everyone. I know there's a lot of questions. This is very much an active case, and this investigation is in its early stages. We are following all the leads and all the evidence. If anyone has any information, please report it to the FBI or local law enforcement. Thank you.
On behalf of President Tumenez, who we've been communicating with, and she's on her way back right now, I say that on behalf of Utah Valley University, we are shocked and saddened by the tragic passing of Charlie Kirk. We express our sincere condolences to the Kirk family. We grieve with our students, faculty, and staff who bore witness to this unspeakable tragedy. He was invited by the student group Turning Point USA to speak on our campus. We firmly believe that UVU is a place to share ideas and to debate openly and respectfully. Any attempt to infringe on those rights has no place here. We do not condone any form of violence at UVU and seek to make our campus a safe place for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this dark and tragic occasion. I want to thank our law enforcement officers who are leading this investigation, starting with Chief Long and his response here with the UVU Police Department. We're grateful for your leadership and your team. And again, to the speakers that you've just heard from who are co-leading this investigation. I also want to recognize Sheriff Mike Smith, who has been an invaluable partner as this investigation moves forward. I've been in touch with President Trump, with FBI Director Kash Patel. We are completely aligned with our state and federal partners as we work through this case. Now, this is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. That founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life. And today, a life was taken. Charlie Kirk was first and foremost a husband and a dad to two young children. He was also very much politically involved, and that's why he was here on campus. Charlie believed in the power of free speech and debate to shape ideas and to persuade people. Historically, our university campuses in this nation and here in the state of Utah have been the place where truth and ideas are formulated and debated. And that's what he does. He comes on college campuses and he debates. That is foundational to the formation of our country, to our most basic constitutional rights. And when someone takes the life of a person because of their ideas or their ideals, then that very constitutional foundation is threatened. Now, we have a person of interest in custody. The investigation is ongoing. But I want to make it crystal clear right now, to whoever did this, we will find you. We will try you. And we will hold you accountable to the furthest extent of the law. And I just want to remind people that we still have the death penalty here in the state of Utah. Our nation is broken. We've had political assassinations recently in Minnesota. We had an attempted assassination on the governor of Pennsylvania. And we had an attempted assassination on a presidential candidate and former president of the United States, and now current president of the United States. Nothing I say can unite us as a country. Nothing I can say right now can fix what is broken. Nothing I can say can bring back Charlie Kirk. Our hearts are broken. We mourn with his wife, his children, his family, his friends. We mourn as a nation. If anyone in the sound of my voice celebrated even a little bit at the news of this shooting, I would beg you to look in the mirror and to see if you can find a better angel in there somewhere. I don't care what his politics are. I care that he was an American. We desperately need our country. We desperately need leaders in our country. But more than the leaders, we just need every single person in this country to think about where we are and where we want to be. To ask ourselves, is this it? Is this what 250 years has wrought on us? I pray that that's not the case. I pray that those who hated what Charlie Kirk stood for will put down their social media and their pens and pray for his family, and that all of us will try to find a way to stop hating our fellow Americans. With that, we're happy to take a few questions.
The FBI director is posting that a suspect is in custody. I would just like clarification. Do you or do you not have a suspected shooter in custody?
We have a person of interest in custody that is being interviewed right now.
That is not George Zinn.
That is not George Zinn. That is correct.
Is there
Are you
any
still
indication
searching
of foreign
or
involvement?
looking for another shooter or anybody else related to this?
Yes, we are actively looking for anyone and everyone who has any possible information relating to this shooting.
Can you tell us details about the suspect being taken into custody? Where? How long ago?
We cannot at this point, but we will get you that information when we can.
Is there believed to be a second individual involved in the shooting?
At this point, there is no information that would lead us to believe that there is a second person involved.
Can you guys talk about the possible shooter?
We, do you want to talk about what we know there? Yeah.
The only information we have on the suspect, the possible shooter, is taken from closed-circuit TV here on campus. We do have that. We're analyzing it, but it is security camera footage, so you can kind of guess what the quality of that is. But we do know dressed in all dark clothing, but we don't have a much better description other than that.
Where do you believe the shot came from?
The shot came from here on campus, from a location at a fair, potentially from a roof, yes. A longer distance shot from a roof.
So to clarify, with the security camera footage you have and the person of interest that's in custody, does that match up?
That's what we're trying to decipher right now.
So did FBI or DHS have anything on the threat board this morning?
I can't speak.
I'll just say that the investigation's ongoing, and as soon as we have further information, we will be sure to release it.
Any indications of foreign intelligence involvement?
As of now, I can't comment on any of that.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about the security of the event itself? Who was there security-wise, and what happens on these kind of events?
Chief Long.
So my name is Jeff Long. I'm the police chief here at UVU, and I'll tell you right now, we are devastated. We're a small police department. We have a very large campus. We have over 40,000 students, and we love our students. We love our visitors, and we're devastated by what happened today. This is the police chief's nightmare. I'm very saddened for the Kirk family. I know his wife and parents found out about this. You know, obviously he's away from home. He's here in Utah. They find out by a police officer that visits their home. That's tragic. Nobody wants that. But I can tell you about our venue today. This was an open venue. This was outside. We did have 6 officers working that event. We had probably over 3,000 people that were in attendance. It sat down in kind of a bowl area here on the central campus. We have a waterfall area. And so he was kind of in a lower area, surrounded by buildings. You know, we had some plainclothes police officers that were in the crowd as well. You know, we train for these things, and you think you have things covered, and you know, these things, you know, unfortunately, they happen. You try to get your bases covered, and unfortunately today we didn't. And because of that, we had this tragic incident. So we did have officers there. We had Charlie Kirk's team. He has a security team that travels with him, and they were here with him when he was shot.
Was the gun recovered?
I'm sorry, see?
Was the weapon recovered?
At this point, I can't disclose that.
When Charlie Kirk was shot, there was a question being asked about mass shooting. Was that person apprehended, and do you know who asked that question?
Say the question again. I don't know if I understand what you're saying.
When Charlie Kirk was shot, he was answering a question about mass shootings specifically. Was that person apprehended, and do you know who asked that question?
I do not. We do not have that at this moment.
What kind of weapon was used?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have time for just one more question, so thank you.
Yeah, a question for the chief as well. Was it your team or Kirk's team or a combination of both that kind of set the security protocol for the event?
So we work together. You know, he has his team, and they do this all over the country. We all know that. This is not uncommon for them. They're very comfortable on campuses, and I was coordinating with his lead security guy, and so yeah, we were working together.
Was this a sharpshooter type shot? Was this a
Ladies and gentlemen, those are all the questions that will be answered today. Again, thank you for covering this. We will be updating you as soon as we have additional information through normal channels, working with law enforcement. Again, our deepest condolences to the Kirk family and to the students who were there today. I would just ask everyone everywhere to please pray for their family and to pray for our country. We need it now more than ever. Thank you.
All right, folks, let's get you quickly up to speed on what just transpired at that news conference. Governor Cox, like FBI Director Kash Patel, confirming a person of interest is in custody. He's being interrogated. They believe he may be the shooter. There is video footage, which we have seen here at Just the News and at Real America's Voice, excuse me, that shows the shooter on a roof. Police chief for the Utah University confirming that the shot likely was taken a single shot, which hit Charlie Kirk in the throat area. And there's not a whole lot more. An interesting moment in the conversation. They asked if they can rule out any foreign involvement. They said they couldn't address that issue yet. That's an area I know federal law enforcement is looking at right now. We're going to keep you up to speed on that as we develop over the next hour. But right now, we've got a fantastic guest. He represents the state of Indiana in the United States House. He is Congressman Marlin Stutzman. Congressman, good to have you on the show on such a tragic day.
Thank you, John and Amanda. It's obviously just heartbreaking to see what happened and to hear what happened to Charlie Kirk this afternoon. We had votes on the floor a little bit ago, and the mood on the floor is just shocked. Our hearts are broken for Erica and their young children. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Kirk family. There's so many emotions that I know all of us are going through right now. Obviously sadness, but also, I'll be honest, for me, it's a little bit of anger. Here, one person silenced a voice that was talking with 3,000 young people. Charlie was an inspiration to young people across this country. And for one person who has the freedom here in America to assassinate somebody that he disagreed with, it's a sad day for America.
Yeah, that it is.
Yeah. Congressman, Charlie Kirk's circle of friends reached all the way up to Capitol Hill, and he led a generation of people who oftentimes inspired and even pushed for changes in legislation. His presence, I imagine, or the lack thereof, is going to be felt in the halls of Congress too, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. My son, I have two boys, Gen Zers, that just admired Charlie, and our oldest son is a student at Liberty University. He was the chapter president of TPUSA last year, and he just called me a little bit ago. You could just hear the sadness in his voice, and they were having a prayer vigil before it was announced that Charlie was assassinated. But there's hundreds of thousands of young people across this country that are hearing the news today of Charlie's assassination, and it's going to have an incredible impact on them and their worldview on what happened today. And the impact that he had on Capitol Hill was incredible. Anybody that has the ability to communicate to the younger generations the way that Charlie did is always a person that we all admire, because he's engaging young people into a conversation, with the freedom of speech that we have on college campuses across the country. And there's so much admiration for him on Capitol Hill for being fearless, and but also the way that he communicated with young people and his actions spoke so much. And it's a huge, incredible loss for our country today.
Sarah, I want to turn to just one other topic. You have so eloquently captured what Charlie has done. You also are such an important voice for what's going on in Syria and some of the ethnic minority cleansing going on. You're perhaps one of the most cogent voices in Congress on this right now. Tell us just a little bit about what we need to keep our eye on there and what we in the United States can do to stop some of this horrific behavior.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I was planning on talking, as you said, about the Christians and Druze in Suwaida in Syria who have been just without mercy killed by militia in Syria. And, and here it just happened in our own country today, where hatred assassinated somebody that he disagreed with. And we're seeing the same thing in the Middle East. The hatred that happened October 7th coming out of Gaza towards the Jews in Israel. And now we're seeing Christians and Druze that are being assassinated just point blank without any mercy in Suwaida. And so, our request of the president and our Secretary of State and others who have any influence that there be a humanitarian aid route opened up for the Druze in Suwaida and the Christians in Suwaida. But again, it's the same hatred, John. It's so discouraging today to see that, the hatred that happens over in Syria is also happening right here in our own country, whether it's the young Ukraine lady on a bus who's stabbed to death, or Charlie Kirk, who is assassinated on a college campus. And this is the sort of hatred that needs to stop and needs to be ended.
Yeah. Congressman, I think for so many of us, we see the political discourse in this country and the direction that it's been going, and we immediately jump to, this is domestic, it's someone on the left, but this could be foreign. If it is foreign, how do we retaliate? Do we retaliate?
Well, I think, just like with President Trump, I would not be surprised, and I'm actually very suspicious, would believe that there was a foreign component to the shooter somehow. This is what they do in the Middle East. They hire young people. Well, we see this in the drug trade. In Chicago, they hire these young people to go out and assassinate and shoot people wherever their mission is to spread hate and create terrorism. And so if there is a foreign component to it, and our leaders find out, I believe that President Trump will be sure that justice is served. And if the shooter that they have apprehended somehow gives any indication that there will be, further justice. And, this person who assassinated Charlie Kirk, I was grateful to hear the governor's comments from Utah that they will follow the law as far as they can and that justice will be served, including the death penalty in Utah. I'm praying for all the people involved right now, and I'm praying for our country because, the political shootings that have happened over the past several months have got to stop. And it's so discouraging today to see that a great leader like Charlie was assassinated.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And you're right. The final victim in this is our country, that we have to get a grip on this intolerance. For 240 plus years, we were good at disagreeing with each other, but letting our words speak for themselves. But we seem to have a generation that doesn't see a human when they shoot at them. They see some video character or some android. And I don't know how we get this culture of civility back. I know you and your colleagues talk about it. Some thoughts about where we start this process, what we need. When we were struck on 9/11, we all agreed that we needed to stand up that hatred. But today, my colleagues just down the hall here at NBC, they had people on suggesting that Charlie was the reason he got shot. How do we get over this insanity?
Well, first of all, I believe it starts with faith in God and respecting human life. Yeah. That's why the abortion issue is such an important issue for us as Republicans, that we protect human life. You know what? Charlie's not coming back. Charlie's not waking up tomorrow morning. Oh. And his boys are without a father today. That is heartbreaking and heart-wrenching. And if any person hears and just realizes that, you may disagree. I don't care if it's over what kind of food you like or the political positions that you take. It is never, ever right to take another person's life. God gave us life, and I think that that's what's important, is that we need to realize that life is such a gift and that God has given each one of us that gift. And you know what? If you're struggling, if you are uncertain about life, find answers. There's answers. And of course, I would encourage people to go to church, go to the Bible. There are good answers there that can help any person to find their way through life. And taking it out on another person, it's not the right way to do it.
Yeah, it's not the American way. It's not the way we've done it. Oh. And sir, you are such an eloquent voice on so many issues. It's a great honor on this tragic evening to have you here to help us come to grasp with what happened. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you both.
What a great guy, and what an extraordinary person. What a great person to memorialize Charlie. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, catch our breaths. We're going to come back with one final segment before we hand off to the one and only Grant Stinchfeld. We'll be right back, folks.